Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Notre Dame followed up their first college football playoff appearance with an 11-2 season and a bowl victory over Iowa State. Today we take a look at their 2020 schedule as our 10th ranked team in our way too early top 25. You know, the Fighting Irish's only losses in 2019 were a road game at Georgia by just 6 points, and then a road game at Michigan where they got absolutely annihilated in a rainstorm. But nonetheless, Brian Kelly has his team ready to go in 2020, and they are looking to not only hope to have a double-digit win season again, but get back to the college football playoff. Got there in 2018, looked like solid contenders up until that Michigan game, and that just about ruined any slim chance they had of sneaking in there as a one-loss independent. But all of their chances, all of their hopes rely on their quarterback, Ian Book, who surprised some, not too many, but surprised some, by foregoing the NFL draft and returning to South Bend for another year with the Fighting Irish. To me, one of the better quarterbacks in the entire nation. But unfortunately, he loses his star wide receiver in Chase Claypool and tight end Cole Kmet, who last year, to me as well, was one of the best tight ends in the entire nation. They do return just a little over half of their defense from last year, one that allowed just 17.9 points per game, good enough for 12th in the entire country. We're going to take a look at their schedule here, but the one thing you have to keep in mind is that Brian Kelly, like Jim Harbaugh, has struggled to win the big games. He struggled to win against elite opponents in bowl games, college football playoff, New Year's Six bowl games, even tough opponents in the regular season as well. If they want to get back to the playoff, he's going to have to get over the hump and win some big ones. And it starts in week 0 with the game against Navy in Ireland. I can't think of a better way to kick off the college football season. Bit of a rivalry game between the Midshipmen and the Fighting Irish. College game day, week 0 in Ireland. It's going to be fantastic. And hopefully it's going to be a better matchup than the beatdown that Navy received last year, losing to Notre Dame 52-20. But keep in mind, both of these squads were 11-win teams in 2019. So it's going to make for a very intriguing matchup in a foreign country, the setting and everything, to kick off college football. Of course, after that, because they play in week 0, they get a bye week. And because they play in week 0, they get 2 bye weeks, unlike many of the other teams in college football this season. So in week 2, officially, they play Arkansas out of the SEC. And I know my guys Johnny and Walter, yeah, we've got this game circled on the calendar. I know we all do. They face off against the Razorbacks, an SEC opponent, not the most elite SEC opponent by any means. But Arkansas, a team that's hoping to kind of bounce back, hoping to take a step forward in year 1 under Sam Pittman. They get Felipe Franks in at quarterback from Florida. They've got Rakeem Boyd back at running back. They've got a very solid crew of wide receivers. This is a game that Notre Dame will certainly be favored in, but one they cannot afford to overlook and take lightly. Reminds me a little bit of when they played Vanderbilt a few years ago, and the Commodores almost went into South Bend and pulled off the upset. Cannot allow the same to happen with the Razorbacks. Western Michigan here in week 3, and then you really start to get in to some of the tests and challenges for Notre Dame. You know, a lot of people always criticize Notre Dame. They give them a lot of hate because they're an independent. They say you should join a conference. You know, go join the ACC. Go join something. We don't like you being an independent because you just schedule a bunch of cupcakes. You can't say that this year. Notre Dame's schedule is much more difficult than it has been in recent years. And I'm not just talking because of this Wake Forest game here. Wake Forest in Charlotte, they're without Jamie Newman, should still have solid quarterback play. Dave Clawson, a guy that's done phenomenal with the Demon Deacons, but another game that Notre Dame will probably be favored in. It really gets tough here with Wisconsin. And if you're looking for a stretch of games that maybe could be tough for Notre Dame, it might begin here with Wisconsin. This little 3-game stretch here could be the toughest of the season. But to me, there are more individual games that are tough for Notre Dame not really any stretch like we've had for other teams. But this Wisconsin game, going to be epic. Epic not because they're both great teams, but because of the location as well. Being played in Green Bay at Lambeau Field. So while technically it's a neutral site game, Notre Dame is still having to travel into the state of their opponent. So this is going to be a fun one to watch. Wisconsin dealing with life without Jonathan Taylor. Very, very talented defense. Same could almost be said for Notre Dame. So this game has the potential to be very low scoring. Very low scoring. Could come down to who can, just move the ball just a little bit more than the other guy. And right now, I would maybe lean towards Notre Dame in that area, giving the edge of Ian Book at quarterback over that of Jack Cohn. Of course, we're not predicting anything, but this is a game that I'm going to have circled on my calendar as well, kicking off the month of October. They play Stanford right after that. 45-24 victory on the road for Notre Dame last year in the season finale. Stanford, like a couple teams we've mentioned, battled the injury bug all year long. Quarterback after quarterback after quarterback went down, and David Shaw's team did not meet their expectations at all. But you can't really blame him. You blame the injuries. Can't coach that. You can't prevent that. It just happens. Notre Dame getting them back home in South Bend, rivalry matchup. Stanford should be much better than what we saw from them in 2019. And then a road game at Pittsburgh. Certainly a game to me that could be a trap game for Notre Dame. A Pittsburgh team that, under Pat Narduzzi is a team that, they might go 5-7 or they might go 8-4. They're all over the place. They're never really elite, but they're pesky enough that they can pull off a big-time upset like this. And we've seen many of those under Pat Narduzzi. And with Notre Dame traveling out to Pittsburgh team that I do expect to go bowling, probably somewhere between about 7 or 8 wins. It's going to be a tough game for the Fighting Irish, especially if they're still battling some offensive struggles. It really depends on how quickly Ian Book kind of builds chemistry with his wide receivers. A bunch of new pass catchers going into 2020. So a trap game potentially here at Pittsburgh before they get their bye week on October 24th. Final 5 games of the season are probably the toughest for Notre Dame. This Navy game is going to be tough. This Wisconsin game is certainly going to be tough, very tough. Pittsburgh potentially a trap game. But they get Duke on Halloween, a team they defeated 38-7 last year on the road. I'm not too worried about that. The biggest game on Notre Dame's schedule, the one that everybody is looking forward to, starts in November 7th, home against Clemson. And this is why I'm saying you can't criticize Notre Dame's schedule this year. Not just because of this Clemson game, but because of Navy in Ireland, because of Arkansas to the SEC, because of Wisconsin in Green Bay, of course Stanford, USC, Louisville, but Clemson, that's the big one. Could be the number 1 team in the country by the time November 7th rolls around. There's a good chance Notre Dame could be undefeated or just a 1-loss team when this game comes around. You've got Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne and Dabo Swinney coming to South Bend to take on Brian Kelly and Ian Book. It wasn't too long ago that we saw that thriller down in Death Valley. I believe it was 24-22 in favor of the Tigers. The bring your own guts game, as Dabo Swinney claimed it. This game could be very, very similar to that. A lot of people are going to criticize Notre Dame. This is the big game we're talking about. This is the one that Brian Kelly needs to win. It's the one that he struggled to win. This is it. At home, beginning of November, playoff implications on the line. Nothing can be better than this game on November 7th. I am extremely psyched for it, as I know many other college football fans are. Toughest test on Notre Dame's schedule. Biggest game on Notre Dame's schedule. Circled on everybody's calendar. That's the big one. Clemson. Of course, we'll have more on that when we do our predictions, but that's going to be the one that will really, in my opinion, kind of define Notre Dame's season. Great if you go 10-2, 9-3 as the FPI predicts. But are you going to be able to win the big ones? That's what matters. At Georgia Tech in Atlanta, being played at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Beautiful, beautiful stadium. Got Georgia Tech there. Not going to be that big of a challenge in my opinion. Should take a step forward, but not that big. Then Louisville and USC rounding out the year. These two are going to be tough. Louisville is going to be very dangerous offensively, maybe one of the better offensive teams in the country. under Scott Satterfield in year 2. Fighting Irish beat them 35-17 in the season opener last year, and that was a game they started off pretty slow, and Louisville, I think, gave them a bigger fight than they expected. So, tough one there, luckily hosting that in South Bend. And they close out the year, rivalry matchup, out west in California, facing off against USC. And this is going to be, maybe if you're ranking the toughest test on Notre Dame's schedule, USC certainly in the top 3. On the road in Southern Cal, a team that only beat 30-27 last year in South Bend. Got Keaton Slovis coming in at quarterback, one of the better wide receiver cores in the entire country at USC. The air raid offense led by Graham Harrell and Clay Helton, who at this point might still be fighting for his job. A win over Notre Dame could save it. And if Notre Dame is a one-loss team or undefeated, especially if they get past Clemson, this is a game they cannot afford to lose, because if they do so, they're out of the college football playoff race. So a huge, huge game at USC. Certainly a team that I have high expectations for going into 2020. The Football Power Index has Notre Dame finishing 9-3. Early predictions have Notre Dame finishing the season at 9-3, and I'm sure many Notre Dame fans would not take that. Yes, 9-3 is great. A double-digit win season, if they win their bowl game, is great. That'd be 3 straight for them. But they're still falling short of their ultimate goal, and that's making the college football playoff. That's winning the big-time games. That's getting to a New Year's Six bowl game, because 9-3 is not going to be good enough to do that. Notre Dame went 11-2 last year and didn't even make one. So that's probably not meeting Fighting Irish expectations. And you can't help but wonder that if they go 9-3, if they don't win those big games, is Brian Kelly on the hot seat going into 2021? But nonetheless, a big year for Notre Dame. And whatever happens, one thing's for sure, you cannot criticize their schedule. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate all of your support. Make sure to check out everything down in the description below for exclusive college football news, content, and offers that you do not want to miss. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.